Okay, everybody. It's a minute after 2 o'clock, so why don't we get started? And Beth, if you would do the roll call, please.
Yes, Kathy Batchelor,
Here.
Candy English,
Here.
Beth Dingman, here. Nellie Johnson,
Here.
Bart Hillier,
Here.
Steve Reynolds,
Here.
Dave Barker,
Here.
Marge Garneau,
I'm sorry, Marge sent a note today to her husband had surgery, so she may or may not be able to join us today.
Okay.
As it stands, we'll just mark her absence in case she doesn't get in.
Bev Lawless,
Here.
Lanny Smith, Jody Walker,
Here.
Scott Summers.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. So the second item is to amend or adopt the agenda. I have an amendment to the minutes that is on the consent agenda. So I would like that to be pulled and added to item B, as long as item A has to do with the minutes as well. So, and then the rest of the items would be rescheduled. B becomes C, C becomes D, and D becomes E. Do I have any other changes or amendments to the agenda? Then I would move to approve the amendment to the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Nellie. Nellie seconded. Thank you, Nellie. All those in favor for the amendment to the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. And then I would move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Beth Dingman is second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And it looks like unanimous again. Thank you very much. The CEO's President's Report. I don't really have an awful lot to talk about today. I kind of forgot about that item, tell you the truth. But I would like to thank everybody for attending today. We always love to see new faces or returning faces as it is. So with that, I will pass it on to Scott and his CEO report.
Thank you. I have a brief report as well. These are mostly just on projects. The West Center Lapidary Club across the courtyard, that project, that expansion project, is nearly at 100% design, which is great. We're still anticipating a construction start date for that project in January of 26. The metal shop expansion project is just about complete. We have a fire alarm system installed, and we are anticipating a ribbon cutting for that project sometime the first or second week of December. So once we have that date down, we'll be notifying the board and inviting everyone out to come and celebrate the new home of the metal shop.
Did you say November or December?
December.
Okay,
I meant to
thank you.
say December.
Okay, thank you. I heard November, and so it's probably my
It's
ears.
possible.
That's correct.
It's certainly
That's all right.
possible.
Continue.
And honestly, that's about it. A lot of our 25 projects are wrapping up. So we're going to start gearing up for the 2026 projects now that the budget's been approved for that. So we want to hit the ground running for that, but that won't start till January. So any questions? All right, thank you.
Not seeing any, so thank you, Scott. Committee reports, the audit report, our audit committee, Bev Lawless.
No reports. We won't have any more meetings until the spring when we review the audit.
Okay, great, thank you. Board Affairs, Candy?
Thank you, Madam President. Board Affairs did not meet this past November. However, today we're going to be addressing some guest pass policy amendments, changes to the CPM, so we'll talk about that further. Our next Board Affairs meeting will be December 9th, which is a Tuesday in room 2, which is right over there at 1:30 p.m. And every member is invited to attend, so we'd like to have you there.
Thank you, Candy. Next one will be Fiscal Affairs, Nellie Johnson.
Thank you. We met yesterday in our committee meeting, and we reviewed our October financials, and they are basically holding with our budget estimates. We also reviewed our 90-day cash policy, and again, we are doing a very good job in managing that policy. And then Scott reported on an initiative that was undertaken by he and his staff identifying efficiencies across the entire operations. And we discussed some of those that are being put into place, and we'll continue that discussion in January. Thank you.
Thank you. Investments Committee, Lanny Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was no meeting of the Investments Committee, but as David will report later on, we have an unrealized gains year over year on a budget as well as a year-over-year basis. So our investments are performing well. Thank you.
Thank you. Nominations and elections, Beth Dingman?
Yes, we had our last meeting on November 13th. We talked about the format for the 2 forums that are planned for March. And we're working on the questions and getting the format set. And Regina has also, again, graciously agreed to ask the questions for the online questions of the candidates. So it's coming together.
Thank you, Beth. Planning and evaluation, Steve?
Thanks, Kathy. Our work has been completed for this season, and we will not meet again until possibly next year.
Okay. Just as, Scott, if we could just make a note so that Steve doesn't have to repeat that every month, that they won't be meeting till this next year. Thank you. The consent agenda would be, because I've asked for the minutes to be pulled, the only thing on the consent agenda right now is the financial statements. Are you or David?
Well, no, they're on consent, so we're
Oh,
just
that's right.
asking-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just asking the board to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay. Motion's been made by Nellie Johnson, a second by Lanny Smith. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Action items. The first item on the agenda is the recommendation of the work session minutes of October 8th, 2025. And this has my name on it, and I've worked closely with Scott over it, but Scott's going to make the presentation.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. The board is asked to consider reconsidering its vote made on October 22nd, 2025 at the regular meeting regarding the work session minutes of October 8th, 2025, and approve the amended minutes which are attached in their place. We're asking the board to consider rescinding its vote and consider revoting for these new minutes. Actually, they're really the same minutes with 2 very minor modifications. Procedurally, we don't believe the amended minutes complied with the CPM or Robert's Rules of Order best practices and recommendations. The amendment also creates a wholesale rewrite and a new practice for how GVR prepares minutes. And we do believe that a deeper conversation would be needed if, in fact, this is the direction the board would like to go. The CPM and Robert's Rules of Order identify really what should go in minutes and what shouldn't go in minutes. And that's been our practice. That's what Nancy does when she puts her minutes together. So again, we're asking the board to reconsider and rescind its vote that it made on the 22nd, and instead vote for the minutes that were presented originally, but with 2 minor modifications. I'll take any questions.
Before you do that, shouldn't we have a motion and a second for the discussion?
Sure.
Okay, so I will make a motion I'm going to make a first motion to rescind the minutes that were adopted on October, the amended minutes that were adopted on October 22nd for the October 8th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Bev Lawless is a second. So now we can discuss it.
Okay, any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Nellie.
I'm referring to the write-up on page 19 on this item. And there's a difference between a board meeting and a work session. And the Robert's Rules that's referenced there in Chapter 48 refers to a board meeting, which is requires official motions and votes. And a work session is not defined in Chapter 48. It's really defined in Chapter 47 and also in Chapter 9.27, which basically says that it's an informal discussion of the board and key items from that meeting can be presented. So I believe what I did present was in compliance with Robert's Rules. Also our CPM on the meeting minutes do comply with the fact that.
No.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Marge is here.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
Sorry,
Mark.
I'm having trouble with my login.
Okay, thank you, Marge. Go ahead, Nellie.
so the CPM does refer to minutes, and it's very specific as far as what it requires when it's a board meeting, but it's not so clear what it requires for minutes when it's a work session. So I think there's opportunity for clarification. I have talked with the chair of the BAC. I'm also a member to approach BAC to look at some changes there. But what happened at the work session when the budget was presented, and Scott basically presented the staff and the FAC recommendations. In the middle part of his presentation, after going through the FAC slide, he asked me as chair of FAC to summarize any other points that I felt was important. And that is what I basically summarized in the minutes, the amended minutes. And the reason why it was important, the notes that I put in those minutes, is because it really set the reasons why FAC recommended certain things, such as not only were we responsible for a calendar year 2026 budget, but we also had to do a 3-year forecast, which presented certain challenges and deficits, and that then triggered a further analysis into the home sale models and then revenue enhancements. And I do feel that was important to have documented the FAC's work in the minutes as part of the presentation. So I responded to a request from the CEO as far as the budget presentation. So I guess when we reviewed the specifics of the amendments last time, they were approved by 8 yeses, 1 no, and no abstentions. So we're not talking about the issue of whether they were correct. It's really the issue of the process. And so I do believe I did comply with Robert's Rules. I do think there is some confusion with regard to the CPM. It doesn't really specify what should be included in minutes, although the history, as Scott does point out, it is key points, and the key points I did emphasize were the result of our committee's actions. So I would request that you continue to support the minutes that were passed at the last session and vote no on this motion. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make just a comment on that because that was handed out to the board. I did allow it. It should have come in, the change should have come in under the amendments to the agenda, number 1. I did allow it to come forward, but I had not seen that it was a full page of what appeared to be basically transcript for the workshop. When I went into Robert's Rules of Order, and I will admit, I do not know all of Robert's Rules. I don't make a point of knowing all of Robert's Rules. And I don't know that many board members do. Nellie is maybe more up on it than the rest of us. But my thought was, Robert's Rules talks to, and I have followed this when I have had other boards as a school business manager that I had to present things to. And we were always supposedly to follow the Robert's Rules, which even back then stated the minutes should reflect the motion, the person who took the motion. I'm not sure if the second was authorized in that, and what the vote was. And so when I looked at that, I thought, well, we've always followed this other procedure, and I like the procedure of having the bullet points so that I know and others know what we discussed. But I applied that to the work session as well. And to me, if the work session had followed Robert's Rules, then we would have had no bullet points. And the only thing that would be in the minutes is that we had the meeting, we had a roll call, we approved the agenda, and that we discussed the items that were on the agenda at that time. But because the work session has no motions and no seconds, none of that would have been recorded. Personally, I like the bullet points that we have been following over the years because that keeps me aware of what's going on. And I'm sure it does for other board members as well. But I look at it like, are we going to go back to the BAC and tell them we need to have more definite things in the CPM? Can we not follow what we've been doing rather than have a written role of what we can and can't do? I find that untenable, to tell you the truth. I like to be able to discuss things and be able to see that the bullet points referred what was discussed, but I don't think every committee needs to come in and say, well, this is what we said and this is what we want adopted in the minutes. I don't feel that that's necessary. But that's why I voted no on those minutes, purposely because it came in at the last minute. I just saw it at the time that it was handed out at the last minute of that board meeting. I was a little unhappy. So that's why I asked for this to be on. And I think maybe we don't need to discuss where we're going with this at this particular moment, but I think if we followed what we have been doing in the past, that what we received would have been approved and is acceptable for what we've been doing in the past. So any other comments? Lanny?
I guess I have two questions. One is, I read both sets of minutes and I'm trying to understand is the discussion that we're having about the materiality of the minutes? One is more complete than the other, which could affect future decisions? Or are we having a discussion about process and procedure of Robert's Rules? I'm a bit confused. What is the primary issue here? Is the issue the minutes or is the issue procedure? Because to me, that's two very different things.
Okay, I brought it up because of the procedure and because of what Robert's Rules, and this board is supposedly following Robert's Rules where the committees do not have to follow Robert's Rules. So to me, it's more of a procedure, what's acceptable to people. So the question becomes, would you have approved the minutes the way that they came through? Or were you looking for something to itemize it more? I mean, it was a general discussion, minute taking. And I wondered if anybody would not have approved the minutes as they were presented at the last meeting for October 8th. So to me, it's more of a procedure, but it's open. Scott?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to add that both Nancy Moyo, the administrative supervisor, and I also have concerns, and we did chat with President Batchelor about it and expressed our concerns, and we're sharing this certainly with the board as well, but this hasn't been consistent. This change isn't consistent with our past practice. Nancy's been doing minutes for many, many years with the city of Beaverton before she came here. I don't think we've had a problem in the past. They're supposed to really just capture highlights, not necessarily exactly what was said, but as we've said, what was done. I'm more concerned about the precedent going forward. I really don't honestly care so much whether or not these minutes get approved or they don't. But my thought is more about process going forward. Are we going to do minutes very differently in the future? And if we are, I think that's a different discussion, because the precedent that is being set, if they do remain as they are, is that anybody can provide a page of notes 30 minutes before the meeting and ask for the amendment to be done. And that's very different from our previous process and practice. And again, we don't think it's consistent with Robert's Rules of Order or the Corporate Policy Manual. Now, it was a work session, but in the past, before I got here, I think, as Kathy described, the work session minutes were pretty much who attended, what time did the meeting open, and what time did the meeting adjourn. And that wasn't very helpful. And so we worked together and said, let's get some high points in here and really make sure that we're capturing the discussion at a high level. But that was the purpose. It was capturing the points, the high points. And we think we did that. I think Nancy did that in her original minutes. Certainly, if there is something that needs to be corrected, there's an error, there's a typo, something wasn't captured exactly the right way, somebody said something that wasn't said or did say something that wasn't said, we want to correct that so that we are presenting correct minutes. But I don't believe the minutes that were originally presented were incorrect. They just didn't capture all the details that I think Director Johnson would have liked to have seen. Again, I would say that isn't how we have done it. We have not captured that level of detail in the past. So we can do that. We can move forward with doing verbatim minutes if that's something if that's what the board wants to do. But we haven't had that discussion. And I think it's important to have that discussion before you make a wholesale change. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Nellie?
Well, I've been on the board for 2 years, and I don't believe I've ever raised a question on the minutes itself. But in this particular point, we're dealing with the budget. And it was a presentation part of the meeting in the work session. And I was specifically asked to comment and add if there was anything additional from the FAC chair standpoint. It wasn't part of the discussion of the board meeting. It was as my role as FAC chair. And the points that I summarized, I thought were critical and I thought transparent for transparency purposes. They were not included in the budget narrative. And so it was the only way to be able to reflect that discussion. And those were basic facts coming from the FAC. So it's not something, and I agree with you, you don't do verbatim minutes of the discussion, but this was part of the presentation, and it was my role as chair that I was commenting on. Thank you.
Is anybody, Beth?
My only concern, what Nellie says makes perfect sense to me. However, my only concern is that in the past, I remember a director wanting us to change the minutes, and it wasn't even something that was said. I think it was something that was our intent. It was never even said, and I don't recall if it was a work session or a board meeting. And well, that's what we wanted, so we want you to add this to the minutes. And you can't add something to minutes after the fact. Nellie is talking about something that actually happened, so that's different. But that's my only concern going forward is if we start making corrections to minutes, I don't want to set a precedent that way.
Lanny?
So is this motion incorrect? If it's more about process, because this motion seems to be directed specifically about the content of the minutes.
Yes.
That's how I read it.
Yes.
And I think this discussion is much higher than the content of the minutes. It's about the process of how we present minutes.
I don't dispute that, but I don't think that's what we're asking. I think we are saying there's a concern with the process. The content may or may not be correct, although we've reviewed the video compared to what was presented, and we don't agree it's 100% accurate. And it shouldn't be. Again, it should be doing the highlights. But at the same time, that level of detail isn't something that hasn't happened in the past. And so that's our concern. I think the minutes that were presented originally were more than adequate. They certainly weren't incorrect. I think if there were some highlights that needed to be highlighted, that would be appropriate. But I think a full page of a rewrite is something that is unprecedented. And again, if that's the precedent the board wants to set, certainly they're your minutes. It's your meeting. But we need clear direction on what to capture. And we look at the CPM and Robert's Rules of Order as a guide on what to do and how to do it, as well as past practice. And that's what we have done. This is the first time in my 5 years that we have been told you're not doing it the right way. Other than just a few minor errors or corrections, or you didn't spell my name right, or I didn't actually say that, or the vote was wrong. So this is new, this is different. And so that's why we have concerns about moving forward with the vote that was originally cast to amend the minutes and replace them with the minutes that Director Johnson provided.
Steve?
I have a question about the validity of the motion based on the background justification. There's a question about the Robert Rules of Order, whether we're following, you've referenced a different Robert Rules of Order that Nellie has referenced for these minutes. And there is no language in the CPM regarding minutes at a work session. So I question actually why we're doing this at a board meeting and taking up this much time personally.
I brought it up to Scott after the meeting because of the way it was presented and the fact that I didn't even get a chance to read that whole page before there was a vote that was taken. And my concern to Scott at that time, just from my past positions, has been Robert's Rules of Order. For example, this meeting, Robert's Rules of Order would say the only thing you put in the minutes is the motion, the person who made the motion, who made the second, and what the vote was. So we would have no topics other than that in our minutes. And maybe we need to put this on the next work session, because if this goes to BAC with probably other things, how tight are we going to be as to what can be said and what can't be said, or what can be put in the minutes and what can't be put in the minutes? Do we have no flexibility at all? But I think a whole page worth of things other than what was specified in the minutes, I think that's over the top. I do, my personal opinion. Not everybody agrees with me, and that's okay. But that's why I went to Scott with regards to this. Go ahead.
I want to say, I don't think this is something that Nancy or I have a vested interest in. It's just a pretty significant change from what we have done. Again, we don't believe it complies with the CPM or Robert's Rule. Whether or not something was cited incorrectly, it's very different from what we have done in the past. And why we're here is because an amendment was made, and we don't think that that amendment should have moved forward. Again, I'm concerned about the precedent set going forward. I understand, again, capturing the highlights, but this is a very different process from what has happened in the past. And therefore, in the interest of really you and your governance and record keeping of your board meetings going forward, I think we need to have clearer direction, because this is very different. This throws kind of a fork in the road of the way we've been doing things. And it's a little jarring, honestly, because it is so different. It doesn't feel very stable. It feels very different. What's going to be next? We think we're following the CPM. We're now being told that we're not. So it's concerning, and that's why we brought it forward. They're your minutes. These are your minutes. I mean, they're not mine and Nancy's. Thank you. So how do you want these handled going forward?
Marge?
I apologize for being late. I was
No problem.
struggling. I was struggling with Zoom. I'm not sure what the motion was, but I would suggest, and if you want a motion on it, that this goes back to the board in a work session. This should not even be in an open session. And no board member and no committee has the right to rewrite minutes. So, I think the staff does a great job. They've always done a good job in covering our meetings. And if we start having us as board members having to do it, that's going to cause more problems for us and for staff. So would it be possible, Kathy, to have this be shelved and put aside and taken back to a work session with more information from Scott?
Scott, when would our next work session be? We don't meet in December.
Yeah, you have a work session scheduled for January.
I think that's plenty of time.
You know what, Marge? I don't mind. I really don't mind this coming up at a work session. I think it probably is a apropos topic to discuss as to how rigid we're going to be and where we're going in the future. But for this particular set of minutes, I made the motion based on page 20, what is the recommended motion for the motion 1 to rescind the motion adopted on October 22nd meeting to approve the work session minutes with amendments for October 8th. And I have a second for that. That's why we're discussing it right now. We can discuss this and put it on the agenda for another work session, and I'm okay with that. But I think at this particular joint, because we haven't decided that we're going to change our process, that we should rescind the minutes that were provided secondarily to us at the last minute and go with the minutes that were provided to us that day, because I don't know that anybody would have voted against those minutes that would have been provided that day. Beth?
Yeah, I would say, why can't we just vote on this and leave the discussion about the future of minutes to another time? And it just seems to me that's clear right now. We either rescind these minutes and just vote on it and go on to something else. I mean, I find the discussion fairly confusing, and I agree if it's going to be more detail in the future, I think that's probably not the way we want to go. But if there's more discussion about that, then we should have it later.
Okay. Anybody else on the board before we vote? Anybody online or on screen? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, so we will vote on the motion that I just repeated was my motion. So we'll go with that motion. All those in favor of rescinding the minutes that were adopted on October 22nd for October 8th, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeses. All those opposed? 1, 2 opposed. Okay, then we will go to motion 2, and that would be, I will make the motion to approve the minutes of October 8th as presented in the November 19th meeting book. That would be today's meeting book. And as I reviewed the minutes, I found 2 changes. Excuse me. I don't know if anybody else did this, but I'll just show what I found. On the first page of 21, at the very bottom, the last sentence it shows was a clarification where it says increase wages by an additional 150,000 for a total increase. Those were the words that were added, and the rest of the item remained. And the other change I found was on the very next page, the first bullet on the next page, staff prepared updates to FAC, and then there was a word added there which states recommendations. And then the rest of the paragraph was remained as it had been sent to us the month before. So I just wanted to point out those two things. So that would be my motion to approve those minutes that were provided today. Do I have a second? Beth Dingman is seconding. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Color.
I'm sorry. Did somebody say something? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm seeing 8 hands, 9 hands up. 9 hands, yes. All those opposed? And 2, Nellie and Steve oppose. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your bearing with me on this. So the next item on the agenda was the minutes for approval for October 22nd. I had 2 corrections to that. Is that right? That's the next item, or you're on next? I'm sorry.
No, you put it
Oh, I
there.
did put
You
it
did
there,
move it to
so,
B.
okay, I'm sorry. I gotta find the minutes are on page 1 and 2, 3, and 4. So my first correction, I know this was a typo. Under item 2, amend adopt agenda, the vote states 10 yes and 2 no, and it should be 9 yes and 2 no, because we only have 11 members. And then the second item, there were 2 motions at the top of page 3 that were made, and at the bottom of page 4, where it shows section 2 is the last item before member comments. It shows section 2, amend to read, replace Abrego Pool Spa, locker room and shower. General consensus of the board was to keep the replacement of the pool, spa, and locker room building in the budget. Then there was an insert that was put in, but that changes the vote that we took on page 3. So unless I'm wrong, and somebody would like to correct me, we voted on page 3, I believe Marge was the one that made the motion to amend the original motion made by Nellie. I seconded it to adopt the Plan B operating and capital budgets, the 5-year capital plan, and the 26 fee schedule as presented. So we did not go back and add these words to the minutes at that. So if somebody would like to correct me or like to make a change. I'm sorry, is that Marge? Go ahead, Marge.
That's me. I made the original motion and I did not make this funds are a placeholder thing. I ended with the budget, period.
Yeah, that's what I was just
Yeah.
stating. Maybe I
Yeah.
misstated it, but that's what I was saying.
So if you've just made a motion to get rid of that last sentence, I mean, I agree.
Okay.
Can I
thank you.
clarify for you?
I just second, Nancy has a clarification.
So so action item F is stating what was requested to be put into the minutes of the work session, which we just rescinded and approved. So this was just a statement, this was the whole statement that Nellie brought forth.
Okay, but you're talking about the work session minutes. I'm up at the top of that page, Nancy. There's 2 paragraphs. It's under action items 8. Well,
No, right. The motion made is correct, Then you were talking about on page 4, the last bullet, am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that is part of Nellie's request that was to put into the work session.
Okay, but that's not what we approved.
No,
It's
but
not.
these aren't
No,
approved.
no.
But if we approve the minutes now, then that approves what that states.
No,
No?
that, we rescinded what was said here. So this is what Nellie had requested to put into the work session minutes, which was approved, yes, at that meeting. Now, at this meeting, we just rescinded it and approved, and so it's not in the approved work session minutes now.
Okay, then I would make a motion to pull these minutes off and have them corrected based on what we're doing today, because we rescinded those. Because this makes it look like we approved it.
Well,
To me.
at that meeting, we did.
I think
know,
that's it. It's a record that the amendment did happen. But I have to admit, I'm a little bit confused too.
Well, maybe that's what confused me.
Maybe we need to vote on who's confused.
Yeah. Candy?
I'm very, I think
Go
we
ahead.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think we need to discuss this
Should we just
at
pull these
another
again?
time.
Yeah, let's pull these
And put them on
again.
in December?
Sure.
We can explain to everyone a little bit more, because I have to admit, I'm a little confused too.
Okay, so I'll make a motion then that we just pull these minutes until the next meeting, and we can discuss it at the next meeting. Do I have a second?
I know.
I'm sorry, hang on, we'll pull that up, we'll discuss it in a second, but I need a second to pull it. Are you seconding, Candy is seconding my motion to pull it, and Marge, you had a comment?
Well, I have a question of Scott. If we pull these, which I think they need to be, because I remember what I said, and I remember I tried to get rid of the motion that was on the floor, and I thought I had. So this is going to take some research and discussion, but if we do that, Scott, how does that impact like the budget or anything else that we have done?
Well, you've still approved the budget. You just haven't approved the minutes yet. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So just because you haven't approved the minutes doesn't mean your action didn't happen.
So we have approved the budget with Abrego South in it, period.
Correct. Yep, you did that 2 weeks, 3 weeks
And
ago.
there's nothing, there's no asterisk hanging over it going, well, maybe.
No, I don't think
No.
so. I mean, we've got draft minutes now. Whether you approve them now or you approve them in January, isn't going to change that action.
But that's not the item that's up for discussion. We would
Okay.
discuss this different item. But because it is confusing, and I probably made it more confusing than it is, but because it is confusing, then I'm making a motion to pull the minutes until our next meeting, where we can research it and come back to the board with the technicalities.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Marge. Okay, so I made the motion to pull and Candy seconded it. All those in favor to pull the October 22nd minutes until the next board meeting, please raise your hand. Okay, and it looks unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, next item would be the Board Affairs Committee recommends guest pass policy changes to the corporate policy manual. And Candy, you want to start?
Candy can throw it to me if she'd like.
I was going to go ahead and throw it to Scott, as I was not present at this last meeting.
There we
Okay.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the board's being asked to consider approving the Board Affairs Committee, the BAC, recommended changes to the guest pass policy. For those of you that have been paying a little bit of attention, this project and process has been going on since May, maybe even a little bit earlier, but there's been various iterations over time. We've talked about this at work session with the board. We've certainly gone to the BAC multiple times. In principle, the board has already looked at and approved, at least in work session, these concepts, and the BAC has now approved the red line for the CPM, or recommended approval of the red line in the CPM. So during the September 9th BAC meeting, the BAC recommended the board replace the current annual guest pass with a 30-day punch card once the software allows. A reminder, we don't have that software yet. So right now, we still have what's just considered an annual guest pass. Whether it turns into a punch card or as it stays as current, it is still an annual guest pass. Limit the persons per guest to 1. Limit guest passes to days and weeks. And while the BAC voted to recommend limiting persons per guest pass to 1, and I want to correct this, there was interest in limiting it to 2 instead of 1. And I think I inadvertently, as I was typing, said there was strong support for limiting persons. Now, we have a board director that is on the BAC, and that person did express strong support, and we had a former board member attend that meeting who expressed strong support for limiting it to 2, but in general, I don't think there was strong support for limiting it to 2. The BAC did move forward with recommending that pass and use of guest pass be limited to 1. I think that would be staff's preferred option. At the same time, I think it would be a reasonable plan B to limit it to 2. Our primary concern, at least from a staff perspective, is the unlimited amount of swipes that the annual guest card and the complimentary guest card provide. So again, the BAC recommendation is what I just said, which is limiting those uses of passes to 1 person. That means 1 person per pass, which is much easier for our enforcement for staff. That means when our staff are asking people, do you have your pass? They've got to have their pass. Whereas right now, we have a pass, 4 people can be on 1 pass. And it's very difficult because they might not know where all 4 people are. So the recommendation from the BAC was to limit that to 1 person. And again, the BAC met again on the 14th. They recommended to the CPM, the Corporate Policy Manual, changes. Those are on page 27. So what you're seeing on page 27 is what would actually be approved and put into the CPM if you move forward with this recommendation. Again, that's page 27. And that's my report. Are there any questions? And are the questions or discussion?
Mine's a question.
Okay. Jody, go ahead. I'm sorry. Jody, go ahead with your question.
Mine is more discussion, so I'll wait till the discussion part, but not a question, so I'll lower my hand.
Okay. Did you have a question, Beth? Or do you
My
want to wait?
question was, so if you're saying 1 pass per member, and it's only 1 person.
Right.
So I don't understand if you have 2 people visiting.
Well, so the recommendation was 1 person per pass. That means if you have 2 people, each would have to have their own pass. So
Doesn't it say only one annual guest pass may be purchased by a GVR member?
correct.
But that's
So-
an annual guest pass.
So the other guest would need to have a separate pass. In this case, it could be a daily pass or a weekly pass.
Okay,
Right, but they would both have to have a pass.
right, I get that, but I didn't get, okay, so, and then there's no limit on the number of guest weekly cards that could be purchased by one
There
member?
isn't. There isn't.
Okay.
Bev, same question.
Mine, yeah, kind of the same. So if my daughter, family of 4 comes, I have to buy 4 guest passes.
4 guest passes. If you have an annual, 1 person under this recommendation would be able to use the annual. The other 3, if they're all over 18 or older, would need whether a daily pass or a weekly pass. And I will say, these questions, I think, generate, again, why I think there were some people at that meeting that said we'd feel more comfortable by limiting it to 2 people instead of 1. So the questions that you're bringing up are very valid.
However, at the BAC meeting, and I realized Candy wasn't at the second meeting, they voted twice on the same question, 2 different months, 2 months in a row, and the vote was still 1 person per pass, not 2. Okay. Bart, sorry, your name just left me for a second. Go ahead, Bart.
Thanks, Kathy. I want to go ahead and just so that the discussion is clearly relevant, I just want to go ahead and move that one, which is in paragraph, I'm looking at page 27 of the meeting book, that the word one and the figure one in paragraph 122B, which discusses how many people max can get in on an annual guest pass, that they be converted from 1 to 2. And if there's a second to that motion, then I would like to speak as to why, in my estimation, I think 2 makes more sense than 1.
I second. This is Jody.
I'd like to make one point, just for ease of understanding. That is committee it shouldn't say committee, whoops. That should say board option number 2 in your staff report, which is page 25. Director Hillier has just motioned to approve option 2.
Point of information, option 2 says couple versus 2 people.
It should say 2. I mean, it should say 2. Thank you for that correction. We can amend that and say 2 people instead of a couple. We're certainly not, I don't think, interested if people are a couple or not.
I have a question still.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is, right now, we do not have the capability of going to the 30-day punch card. So if we don't have that capability in January and start selling an annual guest pass, what is the limitations on that guest pass if we don't have the 30-day punch card?
You have the current, well, it depends on what you vote. The annual pass could still be limited. It would, if you vote to approve an annual guest pass, regardless of whether it's the current iteration or a 30-day punch card, the same policy would still apply. It would still be limited to either 1 or 2 people, depending on what you approve today, and it would be good from the date of purchase, regardless of whether it's an annual or a 30-day annual. That really shouldn't change. Whether the annual or the 30-day is in place, they're both still annual punch cards. So the policy discussions you're talking about wouldn't change those.
So that right now, we're just doing it from 4 to 1 or 2 people, and there's no limit. We're just doing annual pass. And if there's no change in our capability of limiting it to 30 by January, it would be an annual card that's available until we get that capability, correct?
More or less, I'm afraid to say yes definitively, but yes, more or less. It's still an annual pass, regardless of whether it's a 30-day punch pass or the annual pass as it currently is.
Let me ask the question this way, maybe it'd be better. Tomorrow's January 1st. We approved this for 2 people. If I buy a card tomorrow, since we don't have the 30-day limitation, that would be good for the year until we incorporate a limitation.
Correct.
Okay, that's all. You answered me. I'm good.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other, Beth?
Given that, then are we, if we do, say, in April, get the ability to limit the number of punches on that card, does then that go into effect then? Or is the annual pass that somebody bought in January just going to be the same as the one we bought last January and anybody can use it anytime? I mean, 2 people or 1 person can use it indefinitely.
I'm so sorry this is so confusing, but yes, if you've purchased your card, it is good for 1 year. If we have a 30-day punch card that's an annual pass that's available April 1st, we would simply switch over April 1st and start selling those cards and no longer sell the more traditional annual pass, but those annual passes that had already been sold from January 1 to March 30th would be in effect. They would simply expire at the end of the year, and the next year, when people wanted to buy a new card, they'd have to buy a 30-day punch card.
Plan ahead. Are there any other questions or discussion?
Marge and Bart.
Okay, Marge?
Can I make a motion?
There's one on the
Sure.
table. I think there's one on the table. Didn't,
What do you say? What?
yeah, Martin? Right. You've got motion one on the table.
You have one on the table? Did Bart
Yes.
make a motion?
He did,
Yeah,
and
I did.
Jody Walker seconded it, and that
Okay,
is
sorry.
option 2 in your packet with the word couples changed to 2 persons.
Okay, thank you very much for clarification.
Steve?
So this is a bit confusing to me. I followed Board of Affairs meetings over the summer. I thought they were very good. There were a lot of ideas. I think the 30-day punch card was the best idea that came out of this committee, but I'm a little bit skeptical of changing the CPM without knowing more about the risk and success that we feel about the 30-day punch card, because I feel like it's in the hands of our IT department. And I have a lot of questions on whether our current scanners are going to be able to handle that, how much money we're going to need to budget for that. To me, this doesn't really change things much. We're just reducing the annual guest card from 4 to 2 people. If we read the survey, most members were very concerned about enforcement. I don't think it really matters if we go down from, grow up from 1 to 2, because if we're at 1, you know, we can still hold the gates open, right? There's still, in my mind, a need for more enforcement for a guest policy. So I don't think, in my mind, the way it's written doesn't really solve a lot of our needs. I really want to know more about the 30-day punch card before we actually change the CPM.
Kathy, I don't see that that's really changing the CPM and it says here, as defined and limited by the board-approved schedule. So we're not really changing it to make, whether we have the punch card or not. I don't think we've really made any changes that are in the wording of this. It just says as defined and limited, and that means something that we're going to do in the future.
So what we would anticipate doing is, again, an annual punch card is an annual punch card, whether it's a 30-day punch card or an annual punch card. Right now, the annual punch card is unlimited, and it says that in the CPM. And so what we would strike is that word, unlimited visits. That's the big challenge right now with the annual punch card. This doesn't change significantly other than eliminating that which is significant. We would still have the annual punch card that's in place right now. And so you're right, until that punch card's in place, it's really the status quo with the annual card, because there's no limitation on that card. Again, if we issue those January 1 through March 30th, those lucky members that purchase them will be able to have unlimited swipes on those cards until the 30-day punch card goes into effect. Once that goes into effect, that one doesn't go away, but it's grandfathered until the end of the year. The 30-day goes into effect. So the policy doesn't need to change at that point. What we would say, and I've referenced the fee schedule here so that we clarify in the fee schedule rather than the policy, that annual punch card is in fact a 30-day annual punch card. That's really the only thing that we would have to do different once we have the 30-day card in place. But again, what this does is eliminates the word unlimited. Again, it's not feasible until we get the 30-day punch card in place, but it goes down from 4 people to 1 person or 2, depending on what you vote for. And it also changes the fact that, and I think this is critical, for annual cards, they go into effect from the date of purchase. So that allows us to grandfather the annual punch cards or the annual cards at this point. If we don't have that, then we'll keep doing what we do now, which is we issue those cards January 1, and then we prorate them halfway through the year, and then they expire December 31st. And the BAC agreed and staff proposed that we change that from the date of purchase. So you purchase it March 1st, it's good through February 28th.
One of the other things that came up and was discussed quite a bit at the BAC was the enforcement is easier if every person has to have a card. Because what they're going through right now is, oh, I don't have my card, but the person I'm with is in the bathroom, which is what they're doing now. When people go ask, you know, can I see your card? Well, I don't have it. I'm with someone who's off somewhere else. And we're getting a lot of that. There's no way for them to enforce that. But that was another reason why members of the BAC were saying it's better for everybody to have one card. Everybody should have one when they are asked for it. So I just wanted to make that point.
Excuse me, Bart has his hand up.
I'm sorry,
And
I
Jody.
couldn't see. Bart? I think you're on mute, Bart. I'm not hearing you.
Yeah. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, I would like to speak briefly to the motion that I made now that it has a second. And the motion was to move 1 to 2. And the reason that I made that motion is that it's my belief that it is a much more accurate reflection of how visitors actually come to GVR to stay with GVR members. I believe, at least based on my own experience and observation, that it's predominantly couples that come to visit. And the proposal with leaving it at 1 envisions a GVR member using his annual guest pass for half of the couple that is visiting him or her, and then going down to customer service and getting either a daily or a weekly pass for the other half of that couple. And that is, to me, a needlessly burdensome expectation for GVR members. The GVR members who actually comply with it will find it burdensome. And the GVR members who choose just to ignore it and let a second person get in with a single annual guest pass will just find it too burdensome to comply with. In other words, I don't really think that trying to reduce it from 4 to 1 will produce any appreciable good result. You know, the problems that we have with people who are abusing guest passes are, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I mean, these people are typically, they're singles. They're just, they're one person abusing it. Very rarely is it more than, and you know, our current rule is 4. The abuse comes in the number of times over the course of a month or a quarter or a year that those passes are used. Very clearly being used by somebody who just is using the facilities at GVR, I would say rapaciously, without being a GVR member. So I don't think that reducing to 1 is going to produce any particularly good result as far as enforcement goes, but it will be a considerable annoyance to GVR members who try to comply with things by buying an annual guest pass. Thanks.
If I might make a comment with regards to a single person, because I am one. I received a guest card so that I would have 2 cards for my property. it's not going to be less burdensome for the 4,000 single people that we have that will also have to go down if they have a couple visiting. They're going to have to go down anyway in order to get a guest pass. We're going to get one guest pass for free, but if we have 2 people, we're going to have to go down anyway to get a second if we have a couple or 2 people visiting us. So
Kathy, I'm
it's
sorry.
going, just a second, Bart, it's going to be as burdensome on single people as it is any other person that has 2 people coming to visit them. So
Actually,
I just,
at least as you have described, it will be less burdensome on single people because, as you said, a single person already gets essentially a free guest pass. And that same single person can also buy an annual guest pass if he or she wants to.
right,
And so
but
with
we're
a
going to
couple
have,
visiting, you wouldn't have to get either a weekly or a daily pass.
but we are going to have to go down and pick up a guest pass for that one person that may be visiting, just a second, Bart, that may be visiting us. We will not have to pay for that first guest pass because that's why we have a complimentary ID card right now. But that's basically going to be taken away from us, and we are going to have to go down, every one of us, if we have a guest, we are going to have to go down and get a card for one person that may be visiting, whether it's going to be for free, but that doesn't negate the fact that they have to go down to a center in order to pick up a card, every bit as much as any other member, whether it's 1 or 2.
What would preclude you
just a
from
second,
buying an
Mark.
annual guest pass?
Just a second. I don't have people that come to my house more than once a year, so I don't purchase an annual guest card.
But that's a choice. That's
And
not
I'm entitled to
included from it.
1 free guest card when I have a guest. So that means I have to go down to get a guest card for that person, even though it's going to be free. I'm going to have to make that trip. No different than you would have to make that trip. And if you'll hang on, Bev has her hand up.
Just a couple of questions. So first, I think calling the 30-day punch card an annual punch card is confusing, and I just call it a 30-day punch card. And secondly, what happens after, say you have guests visiting for a month, you buy the 30-day pass. When they're gone, and if you have another guest coming for 30 days, then you're still allowed to buy a 30-day pass?
Sure. Yeah, and actually, we're going to weekly passes, so daily, weekly, and then an annual. So the 30-day, I think, was a typo in there, and I should have pointed that out. We've got daily, weekly, and annual.
So they're not going to be 30-day
So when
punch
they
cards?
go, you could buy 2 weeks at a time, certainly, and when those expire, if you have new guests come in, you would have to come and get another pass. Unless you had the punch card and you only had 1 person coming at a time or 2 people coming at a time, depending on how many people.
But the punch card is still going to be 30 days, or it's not going to be 30 days?
Yes, and that's where there's a little confusion. So I'm sorry, the punch card would be 30 days, but it's not for the 30-day calendar days.
Right.
It's 30 punches throughout the entire year, so there's a difference.
Okay.
I'm
got it.
sorry about that
swipes.
confusion.
Okay.
There's a difference. It would be 30, not even swipes, but 30 days.
30 days.
Right, throughout the entire year.
Jody?
Okay, I think it's kind of confusing for some people. The intent of this was to also change the policy from the annual pass to a 30-day pass. And it just hasn't happened because IT hasn't been able, they're still working, I'm assuming, hasn't been able to change or develop the software in order to get that changed. That's the reason why we still have the annual pass at the moment. So that's the confusion, because the intent was to do both, reduce the numbers and to introduce a 30-day pass instead of a year annual pass.
Well, yes, and the goal is to implement hopefully by January 1.
Right.
But it's still an annual pass, whether it's a 30-day punch pass, it's good for a year. Compared to the current annual pass, it's also good for a year. So regardless of what you call it, it's still an annual pass.
Right. So it's an annual pass with capability of using it for 30 days within that year.
That's right.
Okay,
Nellie?
I'm good to vote.
All right.
I serve on the BAC committee, so we have looked at this over the last couple of months, and the issue of enforcement came through loud and clear on our survey that we did of our membership. And that's why the majority of the BAC members really voted for one card, one pass. We also, in our BAC meetings, looked at what other senior communities also do. And we didn't, as I remember, we did not see any other communities that had this type of kind of annual pass, or even a 30, they didn't even have a 30-day punch card type of concept. So one card, one pass really addressed the issues of the enforcement, which really came through loud and clear. The other question, and as I'm trying to recall the budget, and maybe David can help, I don't believe we defined 30 days in our annual fee schedule. We took that out. It just says annual pass. So I don't know if we have put 30 days anywhere. If it's not, I don't believe it's in our fee schedule anymore. We took that out.
I'll go ahead and answer that, but no, it's not. And what I had previously said was if and when, and hopefully it's more closer to when we have that, we would simply just add that to the fee schedule and come back to the board and say, here's the amended fee schedule, because now we're clearly defining it as a 30-day punch pass.
Got it. I didn't understand that point. I thought it was already included. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Candy?
Hey, I would like to reiterate a lot about what Nellie said as chair of the BAC. We did work several months to work on the guest pass policy, and it's taken a lot of work. And we did certainly look at the survey that we sent out to the members, and that was mostly with the annual pass that we discussed a lot about, was that most members did not buy one, but they don't think we should eliminate it, so that was part of our discussion. And also, what Nellie had said about the one person per pass, definitely, we felt strongly about that because of the abuse that has been going on, that it makes it easier for the people, the employees, you have to check with passes if someone always has the one pass. So, and I think it's also just easier logically that each person who enters has to have a pass. That's what other organizations are doing in our area. They don't have an annual pass. They certainly don't have a pass where 4 people can come in on a pass. It's one per. And if you have to go and buy it that day, or who's ever in town, then you have to go and buy it that day, whoever is in town. That's what everybody else is doing. And we were given that charge to come up with solutions to end some of that abuse that we have. So I feel strongly for one pass, one person.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like
Yeah.
to speak? Yeah, Jody?
Again, that the abuse has primarily been a number of people overusing our facilities daily. We had one lady that had over 300 times that they've come in. We have several people that had come in. The abuse of having multiple people come in wasn't necessarily the issue. It was we were having an annual guest pass used 100 times a year. And that seemed to be excessive. So it was excessive use of the facilities for a guest pass on the number of visits, not necessarily the number of attendees. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak before we take a vote? Okay, sorry, second. Oh, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item that's on the agenda? About the guest pass, just the guest pass right now. Thank you. If you have something, we would really prefer you come up to the microphone and give us your name and your GVR number. Yeah, Sorry. And your name, sir?
Ray Collins.
Ray?
So my comment is, we're a retirement community. We have lots of visitors, couples, families, grandchildren. I really am in favor of the two-person pass. And the 30-day or however many days you get to use it for. If it's 5 days, it's 5 days, no matter how you use it throughout the year. Is that what I'm hearing?
That would only work for the punch card. So the punch card would
Right.
be 30 days. You could use those 30 days throughout any time from the date of purchase.
So it's not
When you-
available in a 5 or a
When you
10?
purchase a daily or say a weekly, it is for a finite time, start time and end time for that, whether it's a day or whether it's a week.
I mean,
I peop-
my experience is, we usually have couples, yes, we have singles occasionally, but if you're going to nitpick us down to, every time you have a single guest, you've got to buy a pass, that seems a little excessive.
Well, and that's why the
Thank you.
punch card is a great
Yes,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray. You want to come up to the microphone, ma'am?
My number is 183348.
And your name, please?
My name is Sheraldine Gardner.
Go ahead.
And I do feel as though the punch card for 30 days would be great, because if you have somebody come for 5 days, they can use it for that 5 days, and you have somebody else coming for another couple days, then you still have time for other people to come, and when the 30 days are gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
Yes. And I believe in the annual card. So, anything else?
No, that's great. Thank you,
Thank
Shalene.
you.
Bev?
I have another question. So if you buy a 30-day card, 30-day punch card, and you've got 4 guests, do they each need a 30-day punch card?
Well, that's partly what's being debated. What's on the table is 2, that 2 of those people could use the punch card. The BAC recommendation was 1. And so the other 2 or 3 people would either need a daily pass or a weekly pass, if they're 18 and over.
Oh, Marge, go ahead.
I just have a question. Can we, if we said 2 adults per visit to make it easier for staff, could we say somehow, and I don't know the wording, but could we add in there that they have to be with the punch card? So when one of the staff go in and say, I need to see your card, they can't say, oh, they're in the bathroom, because if they are, then you're both gone. You know, I mean, I think there has to be, maybe to give staff a way that they can say, well, you know, I need to see both of you. I don't know, Scott, is that a possibility?
I think usually our staff will do their very best to find the 4 people that are associated with one guest pass. We would be reluctant to issue 2 for the same reason that we already have. We've got unused passes that are floating out in the ethers and are used inappropriately often. So we would be reluctant and probably would recommend, if you're going to get one punch card, you're going to get one punch card, whether it's for 2 people or 1 person. But we would be probably reluctant. I think that would go back to some of the bigger issues.
No, maybe I didn't say that clearly. You say right now it says 1 adult per visit. We're saying we'd like it 2 adults per visit.
Sure.
Okay, so maybe I have a couple and it says 2, and they both go down here to the pool. Or 1 goes to the pool or takes my neighbor, I don't know. But when the staff comes in and they say, I need to see your card, and they say, oh, well, there's another person in there in the bathroom, or, you know, I have another person and they're out of the car. Is there some way we can help the staff wording this so that if we go, so that you can say, well, you have to either show me both of you, or you have to, is this making sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And again, what our practice is our staff will do their very best to locate the currently 4 people that are allowed per pass, whether they're out at the parking lot or in another part of the building. Our staff will do our best to try to identify who they are. And so we would continue that current practice if it was more than 1, if it was 2 people, for example.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Beth?
welcome.
So my question is, how, is this a common occurrence? Because I have used GVR facilities for years, and I use a lot of them. And to be honest, I've never, ever had anybody ask me whether I had my card with me. So I'm just saying, is this issue of, oh, the other person is in the bathroom and they don't, I can't show you the card, is that come up very often? I'm just curious, because in my experience, it seems
I
like
don't think
somewhat
that comes up that much.
somewhat irrelevant, and I don't, and so, I mean, I agree with Bart in the sense, I think 2 people on a card, it's, I don't know that it's, what I'm saying is, I don't think it's that much harder for the staff to track these people down, because I don't think they're tracking people down very much at all. So,
Okay, Steve?
Have we thought about how we'd price these punch passes?
We sure have. You just approved a fee schedule as part of the budget process.
The 30-day?
It's $85. It's called an annual pass. That hasn't changed.
So whether it's 1 person or 2 people, it'd be the same price?
That's right. And it was pointed out that, we've looked at a couple different options, from very strict to very lenient. And, on one end of the spectrum, there are organizations that have very strict, and again, it is 1 person per pass. And they also require a picture on the card of that guest, and they require a picture of the ID of that guest. They want to know who is on the property. And while our insurance company thought that would be a good idea, it's certainly not a requirement. We wouldn't get a discount on our insurance if we did it. But from a risk management perspective, ideally, yeah, we would like that, but we also recognize that's a big cultural change for GVR, and it's also not our biggest problem. Our biggest problem is an unlimited use of an annual guest pass, which was pointed out. We have some people, guests, that have used them 2, 3, 4. We have 1 person that has used a pass over 500 times. That is certainly not what the intent of the annual pass was. So that's really what we're trying to staff. When I say we, I mean staff is really trying to put some parameters on. And this helps do that when we get the 30-day in place. But this is the first process of really allowing that to happen. But the policy doesn't change.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for option 2. Bart, I'm going to read this option 2, and if you want to change it, you certainly have a right to do that. Approve and recommend the changes to the CPM 1.2.2 guest policy as drafted, but limit persons using the annual guest pass or annual 30-day punch card to 2 instead of 1 to allow for use by 2 people. Is that what you intended? I think
Yes,
that's what
that's
you
what I
intended.
intended. Thank
Okay.
you.
So we have that motion on the floor. We have a second. So all those in favor of option 2, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm counting 5. And all those opposed to that, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's 6 that are voting against that motion. So would I have somebody that would want to make another motion for option 1 to go forward?
I will.
Okay, Candy.
Okay. The motion is to approve the recommended changes for CPM 1.2.2 guest pass policy as drafted.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Nellie. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I see 6 hands. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I see 5 hands. So I believe that passes 6 to 5. So we will go forward with the change to the CPM. Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda, excuse me, is the request funding agreement for MAP from GVR Foundation, and Scott is going to make this presentation for us.
Sure, this is a very brief one, but the board is asked to consider approving a grant request to the GVR Foundation in the amount of $25,000 per year for 3 years, ending December 31, 2028, for the Member Assistance Program. Essentially, this is the grant that the finance director and I work with the GFR Foundation, or the GVR Foundation, thank you, when we request money to help supplement the MAP program. And this grant requests up to $25,000 annually for the next 3 years. Any questions?
Nellie?
Is this the cover sheet to a grant application or the grant application itself?
Yeah.
Page 43 is the application. That is the funding request for funding. So this is it. And if the board approves this today, page 43, then we will ask the president to sign this application.
My only point is there's questions in this where it asked us to explain how the project will benefit the community. Are we going to attach?
That was our intent from just
Okay.
about last year, and you're right, we should have added that to this, and I'm so sorry that we didn't, but yes.
Okay,
we
so
do
there-
need to add that attachment.
So there'd be a narrative to it. So I move approval of the application.
Okay,
Thank you, my apologies.
Thank you, Nellie. And Beth Dingman seconded. All those in favor?
No, I have questions.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I know it's hard to see us with being gone. So this is new. Number one, how did we come up with this $25,000? And number two, what is the financial stability of GVR or the foundation as far as where they're at? Is it because we have budget constraints? I know it's a mere 25,000, but is it a situation where if they don't get this 25,000, that there's no way they're going to be able to meet the annual application amount? Because I don't see anywhere here that it shows the financial stability as far as where they're at on this foundation to support a request to get money from us.
No, they're not requesting money from us. We're requesting money from them.
Oh, how did I?
Yeah. So that's a big change, but we're asking for 25 a year from them.
Okay, I totally had that twisted. I am so
So
sorry.
that probably changes the question a little bit.
Yeah, no, we're good.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I misread the
No,
documents.
it's all right. It's easy. It's new stuff. And this is the same dollar amount that we have requested every year. And yes, we wouldn't be able to meet the MAP requests without these dollars. GVR, through donations of its members, generally raises about 50%, and the foundation through this grant raise about 50%, so that we are able to fund a very good portion of those recipients or those members that are having some challenges paying their GVR dues.
Hey, so I'm confused because did I read the documents wrong too? That I thought, so who approves the MAP applicants?
GVR does.
GVR, okay. I
Right,
wanted to
through
make sure
our
I was
finance
tracking.
department. So
Got
that whole process is within with GVR, specifically our finance department. Great, thank you.
I'm sorry. Marge, you had a question?
Not me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I saw your hand. You know, my eyesight's just not so good anymore.
Do you want me to wave? I can wave to you.
Yeah, okay, next time you have a question, wave at me.
I will.
Okay. So are there any other, is there any other discussion on this application to MAP for the 25,000? Okay, and so Nellie made a motion and Beth seconded it. So all those in favor of requesting the funding agreement from MAP for the GVR Foundation, please raise your hand. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I see 10 hands, so we must have lost Martin. I'm sorry. Anybody opposed? Okay, so we have no opposing. So we have 10 people who are here to approve it, and that is unanimous of the 10 people who are here. Thank you very much, everybody. I think our members are going to be very happy that we're applying for those funds again. So the next item is the Ad Hoc Committee, GVR and GVR Foundation 1-year extension to pursue capital campaign for a MAP endowment. And I'm going to present that because we have a ad hoc committee currently that expires this month. And the ad hoc committee has met with a GVR Foundation committee twice now, once in September and once in November. And I think we have agreed, I'm sure we have agreed on the item that we feel we should extend this ad hoc committee for another year. We have talked about the two corporations needing a partnership between the two of us. Excuse me, that the efforts be sustainable on a long-term basis, and that we encourage more people to donate to the MAP program, either to GVR when they're paying their dues or to the GVR Foundation where they could have a tax deduction. And as a part of that, being able to put in writing in a president's letter in the GVR now, which I have coming out in December, or even just reminding people throughout the year that can take place. But the second meeting that we came together with made certain points that we would like to get together to put something in writing as to what the two foundations are going to do for our GVR members. And one of the items that we're looking at is doing a large-scale funding, I can't call it a party, but a fundraising event, if you will, where we can hopefully encourage people, and some of this I don't always understand because I don't have money that is in investments, but there are things that have where people can make major contributions based on, I have it here in a minute. It was something about an assignment, is that what it was? Is that
Appreciation of stocks.
appreciation stock? Or, stocks that they have to spend at the end of the year, or they have to do something with at the end of the year from their 401k or whatever IRA they have. So sometimes they need to make those donations, and those are the kind of things that we would like to go after. But we need to put something in writing. We would like to do that and come back to this board in January is what we would like to do. But this particular item on the agenda is to extend this time frame for a year from this November to next November in order to come together on an agreement and to produce a event that will increase the money in the GVR Foundation endowment, which for future years and future people of ours, of GVR's members, will be able to fund those people that seem to be going up every year. Beth?
Yeah, I had a question. It says fiscal impact, none. But if there's going to be some big event planned and organized and
there might be,
and it
but
seems like that might involve money, and is there some way that you figure out who's going to pay what?
yes, and that would be what the agreement would be. We don't have that identified right now. That's why I put none. But also we would like, with regards to maybe using the GVR e-blast, we felt we might be able to encourage somebody who has grant writing background to help us out as a volunteer to go after funds with Freeman McMoran or the White Elephant or some other organization that might be willing to donate. But we thought we could at least be able to do something like that where we could request people to volunteer their background. I mean, because we have the most incredible people that live in Green Valley, and if we could get somebody to do some volunteer work for us as a grant writer, that would help a great deal as well. And maybe Steve's on the committee and Nellie's on the committee, and maybe either one of them would like to make a comment.
Based on my short duration on the committee, the vision of the foundation is to set up a $1 million to a $1.5 million endowment that will earn interest, and then from that earnings pay for the MAP donations to GVR. So that's the visionary goal.
I might add that the foundation currently has a MAP endowment that has $120,000 in it, so it would be increasing that amount that they have for the GVR MAP program. But Nellie?
Madam Chair, just to add what you had said, what this motion does is allow for the continuance of the committee so that we can work together for this next year. And we both agreed that it's a very good relationship. It benefits both, it benefits our members. And the one concrete idea is the capital campaign, which involves some time that we'd have to come back to the board. There may be others that come out, other ideas that come out during the year, but the formation of the relationship with the two, what this does here, by extending it over a year, allows that continued dialogue with them. And I think it's beneficial for us.
Yeah, and Nellie's absolutely right. As a part of the last meeting that we had, we were hoping to get the agreement on the basis of the two corporations so that we could report to you in January what that agreement might entail.
Was the motion made?
No, not yet, but I'm going to.
Okay, go ahead, or I can.
Okay, so I am going to move to approve the duties and responsibilities as identified here in the meeting book on the last page, along with the deadline of November 2026 for its completion of an ad hoc committee with the GVR Board and GVR Foundation, and approve an informational report to the board at the November 2026 regular meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Beth. Is there any other discussion anybody would like to? Anybody from the audience? Okay, all those in favor, then everybody raise their hand for those who are in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I see 9 hands. Oppose? And 1, and that would be Marge Garneau. Okay, so that passes, and I thank you all very much, because this is I think is going to be a great thing for our membership. So with that, member comments, would you like to speak to something? And it doesn't have to be what was on this agenda. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Lanny? Motion to adjourn, second. Candy? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your attendance